The clouds of dust that rise every time we pass another car along the dirt road give the landscape a muffled atmosphere. A long transfer is planned for today, 515 kilometers through barren and boundless landscapes, with destination Twyfelfontein. We set off at dawn from Opuwo Falls, following the advice of the guide who accompanied us to the village of Omanji, and stopped to visit the Ovahimba Living Museum, about 40 kilometers from Opuwo. It is difficult to place the Ovahimba Living Museum. It moves on an uncertain border between anthropological museum, historical reconstruction, and authentic village. On the one hand, it offers a suggestive glimpse into Himba life, allowing us to observe their traditions up close. However, the need to pay an entrance fee introduces a different, unexpected nuance that influences us. If in the village of Omanji we had perceived an engaging spontaneity, here the awareness of being in an organized context leads us to experience the scenes of life with a certain detachment. The everyday gestures, the hinted smiles, and even the slow rhythm of manual labor seem to take on a light patina of representation, almost as if they were part of show stage for the eyes of curious visitors. It is a subtle difference, but on an emotional level, it changes the perception of what we see, reminding us how delicate the balance between authenticity and tourism is. Every morning, almost always at dawn, one of the first rituals among the Himba is to lead the herds to pasture. This moment is not only an economic necessity, but a gesture of deep connection with the land and with the rhythm of nature, which guides and punctuates every action. The shepherds, often young and barefoot, move with a sure step and watchful gaze, following paths traced by generations, while the sun begins to filter through the bushes and the colors of the desert come to life. Taking the herds to pasture is a daily activity that goes beyond the simple act of leading the animals. It represents an act of care and protection, of deep knowledge of the territory, which the Himba consider sacred. For them, livestock is not only a source of sustenance, but an integral part of the family and cultural heritage, a symbol of wealth and identity that reflects an ancient and delicate balance with nature. The first light of day illuminates the morning preparations, and, with patient and skillful gestures, the fire, the beating heart of the Himba village, is lit. While the thin smoke rises into the sky, the lambs are freed from the fold. They move curiously and full of energy, filling the air with their lively bleating. This moment, simple but full of life, awakens the village, marking the beginning of a new day. The contrast is surprising and almost disarming. After having witnessed the joyful vivacity of the newly freed lambs, I find myself faced with a completely different scene. A Himba woman, with precise and confident gestures, is flaying a lamb. Every movement of her hands reveals an experience and a deep familiarity with the material, a relationship with life and death that here appears natural and necessary. It is a vision that brings us back to the raw essentiality of life in the village, where the animal is not only a playmate, but also a precious resource. The scene takes me back to an ancestral humanity, made of cycles in which joy and necessity, life and death, coexist in a simplicity that goes beyond judgment.
So that's the perfume. So that's the perfume.
The Himba shower, as we have already seen in Omanjit, is a fascinating purification rite that reflects the ingenuity and adaptation of Himba women to the difficult conditions of their environment. Unable to wash with water because of the red ochre paste that covers their bodies and hair, the mixture that serves as protection against the sun and insects, Himba women light a small fire inside the hut, using dried herbs that are aromatic and have antiseptic properties. The smoke that is released becomes their water, a purifying vapor that envelopes the body in a sort of smoke bath. As the smoke wafts under your arms, across your face, and through your hair, the scent of herbs fills the air, creating an intimate, spiritual atmosphere. The cone on which they purify the leather skirts is also ingenious.
Take your child here, and then the chief is going to give the names to your baby. Yeah, so in each and every Himba name, so for the Himba it is a meaning. Each and every Himba name for you. So the person who keep the fire alive is the first son of the chief. So the entrance that you can see there, so that entrance is only for Himba people, for them to go to the garden.
Where there is the door?
Yeah, where is the door? So they grow. So the animals grow in the garden near the house. And also
Hai esploratore? Esploratore.
Why were you doing
Anche di là.
Despite initial reservations, the visit to the Ovahimba Living Museum still proved to be a rich and stimulating experience. The Himba culture, with its many facets, is fascinating and complex, and being immersed in this reality was a precious opportunity to get to know a world that lives on ancient traditions. Thanks to the museum guide, we discovered customs, practices, and rituals that would have escaped us without his story. From a symbolism of hairstyles to the value of iron and leather jewelry, every detail reflects a deep meaning, offering a unique window into Himba life and the choices that mark its time. The experience exceeded our expectations. Not only did it teach us a lot, but it allowed us to grasp the nuances of a culture that resists the passage of time, enriching our journey and leaving an impression that we will carry with us for a long time.
The parents can marry, like brother and sister can marry or no?
no, only your cousin.
Your cousin can.
then you can marry your cousin.
Brother and sister, no?
Yeah. Cousin dulu piro? And then this is an extension one.
Okay.
So, but long time ago, so girls they normally used to grow hair that face in front, like long one.
Yeah.
And then long time ago they normally used to cut at the end and then they put here.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but nowadays they want to look more beautiful, so they normally used to buy from town, like poor. Yeah.
But it's true hair or not?
This is a fake hair. You can also feel. You can also feel. Yeah.
The bravo. È un reggiseno che non tiene un cavolo.
Qual è? Qual è il reggiseno? Ah, questi incroci.
And this is a special headdress for the ladies.
Yeah.
So they have two tabs. So this one is made out of goat skin. So this one is more respected. So let me say, so whenever you are getting married on your wedding day, you wear this one. That one on top. So that one is either maybe you are going to the bush. Yeah, like this one is sitting here. This one. Like this one. So that one is either maybe you are trying to go to the bush to collect firewood or maybe a basket of water whereby you have to carry on your head. So for the hair not to get broken or maybe, so you have to put like a layer on
Ma
top.
quella è una protezione quando vanno a raccogliere l'acqua, il legno,
Riesce a portare così in testa. Quella lì?
We haven't. No, the first and second one.
So after you give birth, you have to make sure that you make one for yourself. This is the final birth, the lady.
They make by ourselves, there is some special
Il peso della
So when you have more than two babies, you put two lives.
Quindi quando c'hai una sola riga ce n'hai 0 figli o 1, se metti 2 linee, 2 figli.
Apparently they give you like this a gift. No, after the first. Yeah,
Before.
So girls they can get married at an age.
7, 8.
Yeah, so let me say I'm 35 now. I'm like a mature lady after the first menstruation, and after that I'm coming to the parents to ask permission to take my wife to my homestead.
Quindi loro la promessa matrimoniale fino a che lei ha 2 anni, quindi 35 anni di differenza. Poi possono procedere. No, a 7 ha detto da 2 anni.
A 10 anni è la sposa.
Scuola
Tante è una differenza, perché se fosse una cosa tra...
Cioè tra 10
So this is a girl. It's a girl. First it goes behind.
Ok,
Yeah. So after the first menstruations, it's going to change the hairstyle from the plastic one, 2 of them.
Okay.
So 2 of them can show that it's now getting married soon, very
Okay.
soon.
I walk among the huts of the village, letting myself be fascinated by the primitive but incredibly functional architecture of these dwellings, which tell of a deep connection with the surrounding nature. The huts, built with a mixture of earth and dung, reveal their beauty in the small cracks that form on the dried surface, creating a weave of textures that seem to tell the story of the place, marked by the sun and the wind. In some of the oldest huts, the mopane wooden structure emerges from beneath the layers, like a tenacious root holding up what time has slowly worn away. This hand-worked wood is the backbone of the hut, simple and sturdy, and gives the idea of a handed-down wisdom that transforms natural elements into a safe refuge. Every detail, from the cracked walls to the smell of dry earth, conveys a sense of authenticity and rootedness. Here the house is not just a shelter, but an extension of the earth itself, shaped by expert hands that know the secrets of a 1,000-year-old tradition. I am enchanted by the fences of woven logs that elegantly outline the borders of the Himba village. These fences, built with skill and precision, are not just barriers. They're the fruit of the ingenuity and creativity of a people who have been able to transform simple elements, donated by nature, into functional and harmonious works. The trunks cross and overlap as in an orderly dance, creating a unique architecture that conveys solidity and beauty. Every animal enclosure, every village boundary, every hut support seems to tell a story, that of an intimate bond with the land and of a mastery passed down from generation to generation. Admiring these structures, I realize that they are not just useful barriers, but true masterpieces of spontaneous craftsmanship, lines and weaves that, in their perfect interlocking, make the village a living work of art, born from the encounter between the human hand and nature. Before each visit, we carefully consulted with local guides to understand the most urgent needs of the villages so that we could provide targeted and truly useful aid. We wanted our contribution to be meaningful and respectful, avoiding superficial donations and instead focusing on goods that could really make a difference in the daily lives of these communities. So, we have carefully chosen essential items, often simple but precious for those who live in places where access to basic resources is limited. Leaving this aid, the fruit of a simple and sincere gesture, allowed us to feel part of something bigger, going beyond the role of visitors to build an authentic bond with the locals. With every small gesture, we hope to have contributed to making life a little easier in these villages that have welcomed us with generosity and taught us so much about values and resilience. This is not the first time we have passed through Opuwo, and each time I'm struck by the vivid cultural diversity that this town has to offer. It is as if, in this remote corner of Namibia, the past and the present meet in a mosaic of colors, traditions, and lifestyles. Seeing Himba women walking down the street or in line at the supermarket, barefoot and bare-chested, surrounded by an aura of natural pride, evokes a deep connection with their ancestral culture. Alongside them, the Herero women parade proudly, wrapped in their brightly colored dresses with geometric patterns, which recall the Victorian costume reinterpreted in an African key. These images tell of two worlds that coexist in the same space, each with its own identity, traditions, and symbols. At every step, Opuwo surprises me and teaches me something new about the beauty of diversity and the value of a tradition that expresses itself freely in a setting that seems to defy time. Today we bid farewell to the Kayakoland region and prepare to cross the vast, arid expanses of Damaraland to reach our next stop, Twyfelfontein. The barren landscape, dotted with a few patches of vegetation and seemingly endless expanses of desert, offers no visual distractions. The monotony of the route makes every kilometer that passes under the wheels weigh even more, and I can't help but think of the resilience of our drivers, Jocko and Lawrence, who have been driving for days in difficult conditions to bring all of us to our destination. Between dirt roads and challenging climbs, our truck struggles and struggles, sometimes forced to continue in first gear, but they maintain a calm and confidence that transmits trust. Over 6,500 kilometers, they guided us without hesitation, overcoming difficult terrain from Victoria Falls to Cape Town. It is thanks to their dedication and their experience that this journey proceeds smoothly and in complete safety. A round of applause to them, silent protagonists of an adventure that would not have been possible without their discreet but indispensable presence. At dawn, we wake up to the first rays of the day at Twyfelfontein Adventure Camp, ready for another busy day. We want to be among the first to set foot on the site of the famous petroglyphs, a collection of rock carvings that tell the ancient history of this land and its people. The morning light gently caresses the rocks, and the sky is tinged with delicate shades. It is a moment of pure magic, in which everything seems possible and where the contours of the world become gentler. Here too, the water heater is wood-fired. We had seen a much larger one at Sitatunga Camp in Maun. The first light has a unique charm. It is the signal of a new beginning, of a day that is yet to reveal its secrets. And it is a gift for those who, like us, have the privilege of experiencing it immersed in these timeless landscapes. After the visit, a long journey awaits us. Today our journey will take us to the Spitzkoppe, the mountain massif that stands out like a mirage in the desert. We know that many kilometers await us, but the anticipation of admiring the majesty of this rock formation fills us with energy. Every stage is a discovery, and even today we are ready to let the road reveal new scenarios and unforgettable sensations.
Sei! Siamo arrivati al buio, siamo andati al buio.
Allora, a me piace tanto. Dal punto di vista scenografico, bagno 1,20. Allora,
Twyfelfontein Adventure Camp elicits mixed opinions among us. On the one hand, the location is truly evocative, immersed in a landscape that seems suspended in time. On the other, you can perceive that the structure is still in the running-in phase. The field has recently opened, and the young people who created it are clearly putting in all their effort, even if some details still need to be improved. However, the enthusiasm and passion that these kids have invested in the project are reflected in every corner of the camp, from the simple accommodations to the care in welcoming them. Despite a few small shortcomings, there is a glimpse of extraordinary potential. With time and a little more experience, this place could become an unmissable stop, capable of offering a unique experience to anyone who wants to explore the wild beauty of Damerland. Arriving early, we are the first visitors of the day to the Twyfelfontein site, and the morning quiet adds a sense of solemnity to the moment. In front of the closed visitor center, the silence is broken only by the light rustling of the wind and the distant song of some birds, while the wait gives us time to observe the surrounding landscape, already golden by the first light of day. As soon as the center opens, we quickly get the tickets and meet the guide who will accompany us to discover the ancient rock carvings.
white family.
But these white people,
White men. Yeah, white family, 5 people, yeah. 1940s until
qui era
1964.
un agricoltore che stava qui sudafricano bianco.
As the guide introduces us to the history of the populations who have inhabited these ancient lands, he tells us about the San, the people once known as the Bushmen, considered the oldest inhabitants of Southern Africa. For those who, like me, have passionately read the books in Wilbur Smith's Courtney of Africa series, this is a unique opportunity to give shape to an image that has inhabited my mind for years. I've often wondered what the author meant when he described the San's clicking language, a way of communicating that seemed almost fairy tale-like, a fascinating and elusive mystery. The guide, with great skill, decides to reveal the secret and gives us a demonstration of this incredible language, made of clicks and rhythmic sounds that almost seem to blend in with the wild landscape. It is like witnessing a sound dance, an ancient dialogue with the earth. And in that moment, Smith's words come back to life, enriched by the living reality of a people whose history still resonates in the echo of these valleys.
Sidaga tsui sa hodi diska krak twa oda ke tsui kam mona haga koro ngani haisa ko se tisi trakma.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
La lingua secondo me cardurata primitiva.
La cosa tribale.
Represents water. So even that side we've got more drawings, but these are much more eroded. But up on top here we've got a very famous drawing of Twyfelfontein, which appears also on the postcards, guidebooks, and it's the highlight of Twyfelfontein. There is the lion with the very of the legs. Lion has a human feet. Because if you count the toes, this one has got 5 fingers, but in reality, lions has got 4. So these represent the shaman, medicine man that had.
Vedi la giraffina, l'orice.
Voglio non capisco niente, ma secondo me è semplicemente ridimensionato, cioè mettono in ordine delle bellici, poi le dita.
C'è l'elefantino anche. La coda alle dita.
Vedi?
8 persone.
In italiano orice.
Orice in inglese, orice.
Io sono riuscita ad andare Cile e per sempre per la storia della scuola
Addirittura, e c'era qualche cosa legata a un braccio di 2 secoli.
noi ne abbiamo visto uno, ma lì ce ne sono tanti di siti. Abbiamo visto uno perché lei lavorava lì, cioè lavorava lì con i suoi studenti. Ha detto che è 20 anni che è disteso così. E lì c'è
È il rinoceronte.
se me lo dai te lo scassare. Ah già l'ha presa.
Alright, so down here we got now the rhino, giraffe, moose, but these two here, these are the seals. From Cyprus, and the last one, it is a penguin. They clearly prove that Bushmen people were nomadic and they traveled to the sea. Main reason was they were collecting the salt to preserve meat. That's where they see the seals and the penguins.
Allora, per chi non ha sentito, oltre agli animali che abbiamo visto finora, c'è un'otaria qui e un pinguino lì.
Due?
Due. Sì. E dimostra che erano ancora più...
Ma siamo sicuri non ci fossero pinguini qua?
I pinguini ci sono spagnoli, stanno sull'isola di Halifax. Risorse.
Non coltivavano, giravano.
Che ha detto altro, no? Solo...
Che dimostra il fatto che erano nomadi e che quindi...
Sono molto bravi le giraffe.
Le giraffe è il loro animale
carine.
preferito perché
Sono più carine.
vengono proprio bene.
Anche quelli che scolpiscono adesso sono proprio bravi.
Sono più avanti questi. No, ma ha detto anche che probabilmente che il mare era più vicino.
Però loro giravano.
2000 anni fa.
Che luce fantastica.
Come non mi mancano le nuvole.
Queste belle, però.
Test.
Geniale. Riesco a fare. Passa, se passi sotto mi fa la foto, quindi
Scusate,
Prego, prego, vai pure. Ok.
Zebra middle, two rhinos on top, and above the rhino we've got a human feet again. So the human feet again, the signature from the artist, and on the right those are the footprints from different animals and antelopes. And that way they show others how to track animals, spiritual and educational for the Bushmen.
il piede ha 7 dita?
Invece la cosa buffa sopra le impronte dell'antilope.
Is the top right?
La vedere quella lì in mezzo. Il piede sta là.
Ah, perché no.
Va bene.
Not much. Non di più di così. There is enough.
Thanks to the ancient artists who carved the rocks of Twyfelfontein, we have had the privilege of taking a journey into the past, immersing ourselves in stories from thousands of years ago. Every engraving, every figure carved in stone conveys an ancient story, a fragment of life that has resisted the passing of the centuries. The day is beautiful, with a golden light that enhances the details of the rocks, highlighting every line and symbol left by the peoples who have lived in this region. The surrounding landscape, wild and unchanged, is the perfect backdrop to this unique experience, where natural beauty and human creativity meet. In this magical context, we feel almost like privileged spectators of a timeless story, a deep connection that crosses eras and civilizations and leaves us with a feeling of gratitude and wonder. On the long drive from Twyfelfontein to Spitzkoppe, we had the opportunity to immerse ourselves once again in Namibia's vibrant culture with a truly evocative stop. Along the way, we stopped at some stalls set up by Herero women, whose elegant figures stood out against the arid landscape thanks to their brightly colored and elaborately patterned traditional dresses. With their loose-fitting Victorian-inspired dresses and iconic horned headdresses, a symbol of their connection to cattle, these women represent a fascinating part of the country's cultural heritage. Observing their work and exchanging a few words with them, even just through smiles and gestures, made this short stop much more than a simple travel break. It was an encounter with the living history of Namibia, a moment of connection with a culture that, despite the changes of the modern world, continues to keep its roots alive with pride and authenticity. As we slowly move along this dirt road, every bump reminds us how far we are from any sign of civilization, immersed in a barren and wild landscape. Someone is playing cards, and our laughter and chatter are the only noise that breaks the silence of the desert, while the drivers, focused and attentive, tackle the irregularities of the terrain. The track is so bumpy that it almost seems to want to discourage our passage, but the view also reminds us of the harsh and uncontaminated beauty of these places forgotten by time. With eyes full of wonder, I observe the vegetation on the sides of the track, which almost seems to defy the laws of nature. In such an arid and inhospitable environment, every plant, every tuft of grass, tells a story of resistance and adaptation. Some have thick and fleshy leaves, others expose sharp thorns, natural tools of survival in a context where water is a rare treasure. These plants, small and apparently fragile, are actually silent warriors, witnesses of a continuous struggle against the scorching sun and the dry soil. I observe them with a mixture of respect and curiosity, admiring their ability to thrive in a place where everything seems to suggest the impossibility of living. Suddenly, like a mirage taking shape behind the hills, the unmistakable shape of Spitzkoppe emerges on the horizon. Its pyramidal peak, steep and irregular, stands out clearly against the blue sky, dominating the arid landscape that surrounds it. As we approach, other rock formations gradually reveal themselves like petrified giants that watch over the surrounding expanse. The rocks, sculpted by wind and time, take on incredible shapes, creating a play of light and shadow that accentuates their ancient and mysterious charm. In this site, sacred to the local populations, every stone seems to have a story to tell, a secret to keep. Spitzkoppe welcomes us majestically, reminding us of the power and immortal beauty of wild nature. Before crossing the entrance to the park, we are greeted by a row of colorful stalls where talent and creativity come to life in the hands of women and children. They are artifacts that celebrate the surrounding nature, transforming simple materials such as bones, feathers, stones, and berries, and each piece is unique, steeped in tradition and mastery, a fusion of skills passed down from generation to generation. We managed to pitch our tents in the pitch right under the famous arch, but we will come back here later. Now we go to the only place in the park that is surrounded by a fence, the one where the rock paintings are located, where a guide will accompany us in this small bushman paradise. While in Twyfelfontein, this morning we admired the carvings here. We see ancient rock paintings of the Sand People.
Oh, rinoceronte. Is it similar with Twyfelfontein? This is red. This is red. They have also the white paintings here. And the story that you hear at the Twyfelfontein about the engravings, it's different. Here, it's another story. So if you don't mind, I can explain everything. Because of the sun and the rainwater.
La cisterna?
Always draw the paintings. Doing the drawings, and he will draw the paintings. Okay? He will draw the paintings while he is under state of trance. Because the Bushman people believe in their transcendency and they believe in their ancestors. Before they white paintings. And how did they get the urine of the rock daisy? Rock daisy is
C'era un posto dove si andava, che c'era un muretto con tutte bestioline infilate dentro, tipo tarpettine.
Spitzkoppe is a series of majestic granite peaks that rise imposingly from the surrounding plateau, visible for miles around. Its highest point reaches 1,720 meters above sea level, and, due to its similarity in shape, it is often called the Matterhorn of Namibia, recalling the iconic peak, but in a smaller version. It is surrounded by the Pondoc, imposing granite domes that contribute to its wild and untamed charm, creating an almost lunar landscape that attracts climbing enthusiasts, photographers, and nature lovers. This structure, shaped by millions of years of erosion, wind, and temperature changes, is continuously shaped by natural elements. The desert wind blows constantly, bringing grains of sand that, like a natural sculpture, carve new shapes and details on its rocky walls. The result is a place of rare beauty, where every corner reveals the imprint of time, giving visitors a deep connection with the geological history and the force of nature. The small animals we see on the rocks of Spitzkoppe are Procavia capensis, also known as hyraxes or dassies. These cute mammals, similar in appearance to small marmots, live between the cracks in the rocks and move with surprising agility even on impervious granite surfaces. Back home, intrigued, doing some research, I found that despite their small size, they have a surprising relationship. They are in fact related to elephants. They are social creatures who spend their days in compact groups, moving between the crevasses to look for food or warm themselves in the sun. They are shy and quick, but if you approach calmly, you can see them enjoying the sun or emitting small vocalizations to communicate with each other. Their presence gives a touch of life and vivacity to this arid and wild landscape, an unexpected memory to take home from Spitzkoppe. It is certainly interesting to go around the entire mountain to admire its extraordinary shapes at different times of the day, because depending on the observation point and the brightness, you can appreciate different profiles and colors of this ancient granite massif. We didn't have time to do this experience, but with the guide at our side, we were able to explore hidden corners and climb rocks smoothed by time and the elements, finding extraordinary lights and perspectives, enjoying glimpses that have imprinted themselves in our memory. From above, the landscape seems to extend to infinity, with the jagged shapes of the surrounding hills contrasting with the flat expanse of the plateau. Then we walk towards our pitch, located in a strategic position, and to crown the day, we headed to the famous natural arch for a sunset and an experience that will remain forever imprinted in our memories.
Ari.
Serve la sagoma?
After the unforgettable moments spent among the fascinating rock formations of Spitzkoppe, today we set off to reach our next stop. Despite the only 200 kilometers to travel, we left early because in Africa time and distances follow their own rules. The roads often reserve surprises, and at 1:30 p.m. we have an appointment in Walvis Bay with a tour operator who will guide us on a unique adventure aboard the 4x4S on the dunes. On the way to Cape Cross, we were immersed in an unexpected atmosphere. Thick fog and a palpable humidity enveloped everything, creating an almost surreal landscape. The coast, known as the Skeleton Coast for its extreme conditions and the wrecks that at its beaches, is also famous for this changeable climate. The fog, suspended and silent, made the road a long corridor and made the horizon vanish into a gray and fascinating mystery. An unexpected contrast after days of scorching sun and endless skies, which reminded us how Namibia can be at the same time wild and unpredictable. Cape Cross is a dramatic promontory on the Atlantic coast of Namibia, surrounded by rugged coastal landscapes and wilderness. Today, a protected nature reserve, the area holds significant historical significance. It was here that, in January 1486, the Portuguese navigator Diogo Chau landed during his exploration of West Africa, marking the first European landing on the coast of Namibia. To commemorate the event, the navigator erected a stone cross, the famous Cape Cross, to mark the southernmost point then reached by Europeans in Africa, a symbol that encapsulates centuries of stories of navigation and discovery. Today, Cape Cross is famous not only for its historical value, but also for being home to one of the world's largest fur seal colonies. The colony numbers in the thousands, with numbers varying with the season and environmental conditions. The cold Benguela Current, which flows along the coast, brings an abundance of fish, providing the seals with a constant food source and contributing to the colony's vibrancy. The wild beauty of Cape Cross attracts many visitors, eager to see the seals in their natural habitat up close and to immerse themselves in a place rich in history. The Cape Cross experience is a true sensory immersion, an incredible sight that takes us back to the images of nature documentaries, but experienced live, with all our senses fully involved. As soon as we got off the truck, we were immediately struck by the acrid smell that permeates the air, and in August early in the morning, by a biting cold. Afterwards, the hearing is overwhelmed by the hoarse and intense calls of the sea lions that mix with the sound of the Atlantic waves, creating a unique and surprisingly chaotic natural symphony. Walking along the wooden walkway that winds through the rocks, you can admire the incredible liveliness of the colony. Thousands of seals crowd the beach and the surrounding rocks, each intent on their own activities. Some bask in the sun, others argue noisily about territory, while the pups, cute and funny, suckle from their mothers in positions that are nothing short of bizarre. Every now and then, dozens of seals dive into the sea with agility, disappearing among the foaming waves and re-emerging shortly after, almost as if to renew the spectacle for those who observe. Cape Cross is a unique place, where nature shows its strength and complexity. The time has come to leave Cape Cross. Along the road to Walvis Bay, you come across stalls with salt crystals on display. There are no sellers. The prices are indicated on signs, and you buy by leaving money in the appropriate jars. Stretching along the length of northern Namibia, the Skeleton Coast is a stretch of Atlantic coastline that evokes images of desolation and mystery, a landscape both inhospitable and fascinating. This place, marked by shifting dunes and treacherous sandbanks, is the scene of countless shipwrecks, so much so that there are over 1,000 wrecks scattered along the coast. It was also called the land that God created in anger, a nickname inherited from the Bushmen, while the early Portuguese explorers remembered it as the Sands of Hell for its inaccessibility and its hostile appearance. The powerful waves of the Benguela Current and the incessant winds carry the dunes to the sea, generating treacherous underwater sandbanks that threaten even modern ships, while the historic shipwrecks, trapped in the sand, are now incorporated into the coast, sculpting a ghostly and majestic landscape. The gray beach of the Skeleton Coast, with its violent waves crashing onto the shore, creates a breathtaking spectacle of wild nature and marine power. A few kilometers from Hennies Bay, exactly halfway between Swakopmund and Cape Cross, lies the wreck of the ship Zeila, which ran aground on August 25, 2008. This steel skeleton, still clearly visible and surprisingly well preserved, emerges from the water a few meters from the shore, offering an eerie and majestic impression at the same time. Its hull has now become a permanent home for dozens of cormorants that, like sentinels, continuously crowd it, adding a touch of life to this symbol of desolation. The stop at Zeila is also an opportunity to break the journey along an extremely deserted stretch of coast, and at the same time, to contemplate the immense gray beach that extends as far as the eye can see. The proximity to the coast and accessibility make this wreck a fascinating attraction for visitors, who can closely observe the signs that were left by time and saltiness, which is progressively consuming the structure in a slow and implacable embrace. Here's another attraction for tourists. After visiting the wreck of the Zeila, we set off again, destination Walvis Bay. Walvis Bay is a hidden gem along the coast of Namibia, a place where nature and colors blend together in a unique landscape. The walk along the ocean offers spectacular views, while the lagoon is home to one of the largest colonies of flamingos in the region, which also elegantly populate the waters and banks of the canals. Here, The water takes on shades of pink thanks to the presence of Dunaliella, a microalgae that thrives in the extreme salinity conditions of the salt pans. This pink color creates scenarios and views that offer contrasts of colors that enchant the eyes. But the wonders of Walvis Bay do not end here. With a 4x4 tour, you enter an even more spectacular landscape, where the white of the dunes merges with the intense blue of the ocean, creating a majestic panorama in which sand and sea embrace each other seamlessly. Every curve offers a new perspective, and the play of colors between the sky, sand, and waves make the experience unforgettable. A total immersion in one of the most extraordinary and fascinating places on the African coast. Reaching the tops of the dunes on the Skeleton Coast is a breathtaking experience. Here, where the sand meets the ocean in a natural spectacle of rare beauty, you can breathe in a surreal and primordial atmosphere. The wind blows incessantly, lifting grains of sand that hurl themselves against us, like tiny fragments of a wild nature that wants to make itself heard. But all fatigue vanishes in front of the extraordinary view that opens up before us. The high golden dunes dive directly into the blue waters of the Atlantic, creating a chromatic contrast that hypnotizes. The water and the sand, so different yet complementary, merge in an embrace that tells of a landscape shaped by time, wind, and waves, in a delicate and powerful balance at the same time. Watching this meeting of opposing forces, hearing the wind howl and the waves crashing ceaselessly, is like witnessing an endless dance between two elements that find their most authentic expression here.
No, Jennifer, no! No, non go, Jennifer. Slowly. Chiudi gli occhi.
Come chiudere gli occhi se soffri dall'auto.
No, sembra che vai dritto, cioè.
Entering the heart of the Namib is like being transported to another world, where time and space seem to dissolve in a sea of endless sand. This exclusive adventure, possible only with expert guides, opens the doors to one of the most remote and inaccessible places on the planet, an ancient desert that holds breathtaking landscapes and ancient secrets. As the off-road vehicles advance across the golden dunes that extend until they touch the ocean, we are enveloped by the grandeur of this solitary and powerful place. Driving up and down the dunes is an exciting experience, mixing adrenaline and wonder with every climb and descent, leaving us breathless as we contemplate the vastness of this unchanged ecosystem. Nature is sovereign here, and we feel small in front of the magnificence of the desert that, in silence, tells stories of a world that lives beyond time and space. In the midst of a journey of essentiality and adventure, a luxurious break represents a regenerating and surprising break.
Ma lui viene dalla montagna, lui è un
Abituato alla sabbia.
a salire sulle montagne, a fare scalare.
Però cambia,
Despite the arid climate and scarce rainfall, the Skeleton Coast is not devoid of life. The characteristic coastal fogs, produced by the collision between the cold Benguela Current and the warmer waters, envelop the landscape almost all year round, especially during the night hours. At dawn, these fogs advance inland for dozens of kilometers, carrying precious humidity that allows the survival of unique flora and fauna. Here, life forms adapted to the extreme conditions of the Namib desert thrive. From the mysterious Welwitschia, an ancient plant capable of absorbing atmospheric humidity, to small animals and insects that have evolved to make the most of the resource of the fog. The Skeleton Coast, with its inhospitable and ghostly landscape, tells a story of survival, of stranded wrecks, and of a nature that knows how to find life even in the heart of one of the harshest and most inaccessible lands on the planet. We have already left Walvis Bay some time ago when dawn reaches us, painting the sky with bright colors and enveloping us in a moment of pure wonder. The landscape, stretched out and unpaved up to the horizon, illuminated by warm, golden shades, makes every moment of this journey special. Today, 360 kilometers await us, a challenge between uphills and downhills that puts our truck to the test, which advances slowly, roaring as soon as the gradient increases. Every kilometer is a step towards our destination, the Sesriem campsite, our refuge for the night, which offers us the privilege of sleeping inside the Sesriem Park. Here, in the heart of Namibia, nature reveals its most majestic face. In the afternoon, a visit to Deadvlei awaits us, a surreal and iconic landscape where thousand-year-old trees stand like sculptures in the white desert. And then, the promise of the dunes. Dune 45 and the majestic Big Daddy, sand giants that dominate the landscape and invite you to climb their peaks to admire breathtaking views, which will remain etched in our memories for a long time. On the road that takes us from Walvis Bay to Sesriem, suddenly the two bright and unmistakable signs appear, one on each side of the road. They indicate the Tropic of Capricorn. There is something special about crossing this imaginary line, a border that we have only seen in atlases and globes, and that we now find ourselves in front of, marked by a simple sign in the middle of nowhere. It is precisely the great nothing of the Namibian desert that makes the moment so unforgettable. The isolation of this sign, its solitary and slightly battered presence, frames the infinite vastness of this land, a place where geographical and mental boundaries blur. We know well that it is not a tourist attraction in the traditional sense, yet stopping here, in this place that marks the symbolic passage of the tropic, gives us a sense of conquest, as if we had crossed a threshold, an unusual finish line that not everyone has reached. It doesn't take long. A quick stop to take a photo, enjoy the magic of the desert, before setting off again for another long ride through the dunes and the boundless silence of the Namib. On the way to Sesriem, we stopped in Solitaire at the McGregor Desert Bakery to taste a slice of the legendary apple pie. This is not just a dot on the map or a gas station lost in the dusty heart of Namibia. Without Moose McGregor, it would probably have remained a forgotten corner of the desert, a speck in the middle of nowhere with no call. But Moose, an eccentric Scotsman with an adventurous soul, has transformed this lost place into an unmissable destination for every traveler who travels these roads. Solitaire has become a small sanctuary of stories and atmosphere, where time seems to slow down. Every corner of the bakery, from the old rusty cars that dot the landscape to the warm aroma of cinnamon and apples, tells a story. And that slice of cake, soft and spicy, almost seems to embody the soul of this place out of this world. Stopping here is not only a pleasure for the palate, but an experience that encompasses the charm of the desert. A bit of mystery, a bit of nostalgia, and a taste of a place that exists precisely because there is a story to tell. Along the way, in addition to admiring the breathtaking landscapes that flow on the sides, I observe with admiration the motorcyclists that we meet on these dusty dirt roads. Their journey is a dance of dust and freedom that intertwines with ours. Finally, after kilometers of waiting, we arrive at the Namib Naukluft Park, an immense expanse of wild nature that welcomes us with its solemn silence and an intense light that seems to sculpt every detail. Once past the entrance, we quickly head to the point where our truck leaves us to take one of the last shuttle jeeps to Deadvlei. Arriving late, we can still leave, but we will have limited time for the visit. This park is truly beautiful in all its breadth, which is remarkable. It is in fact the fourth largest national park in the world. But here, in the space of a few kilometers, very different landscapes follow one another that leave you speechless. Walking through the clay depression of Deadvlei, the landscape transforms into a surreal scene. The skeletons of acacia trees, blackened by time, stand like perfectly placed sculptures, forming a striking contrast with the red sand dunes and the bright white clay. It is like being in an open-air natural museum, where every tree seems to tell ancient stories, suspended in the silence of the desert. These dark and gnarled shapes become emblems of the fragility and resilience of life itself, motionless witnesses of an era in which water still flowed here. Deadvlei is not only an evocative landscape, it is also a warning. It tells us about climate change, about the slow but inexorable transformation of the territory, which has transformed a fertile lake into an arid, lifeless expanse. In this extreme scenario, nature leaves us a clear and profound message, inviting us to reflect on our natural history and how much it depends on the delicate balances we sustain. After walking among the iconic black acacias of Deadvlei, we set off again through spectacular landscapes to reach another jewel of the Sesriem area, the majestic Dune 45. The route itself is a journey into the most authentic beauty of the desert. As we advance, the dunes become more and more imposing, waves of sand that rise elegantly against the clear sky, drawing sinuous and perfect profiles. Each dune is a unique work of art, Some boast a name that tells a story, while most are simply identified by a number that indicates the kilometers from the entrance to the Sesriem Park. Dune 45, with its fine red sand, is one of the most photographed and loved, not only for its beauty, but also for the accessibility that allows you to climb it. The climb is inevitably tiring after an intense day like ours. Your feet sink into the very fine sand that tends to give way at every step, and walking along the ridge requires attention. The wind brushes our faces, bringing with it the dry smell of the desert and a deep sense of freedom. Every step towards the summit is a small conquest, a moment of intimate connection with this ancient place. And then, finally, the summit. Getting there is a great satisfaction. From up here, the view is absolutely spectacular. This is one of those places where you experience a unique sensation, that of being surrounded by the force of nature. We remain there on the crest of the dune, immersed in an almost sacred silence, while our gaze wanders freely in that infinity. But the moment to descend arrives, and we do it as we do as children, running along the steep side of the dune, with the sand rising around us and laughter exploding spontaneously. It is pure joy, the genuine and light one that comes from adventure and freedom. Today we have a long transfer of 550 kilometers ahead of us, a journey that will take us from the campsite of Sesriem to the coastal town of Luderiz. No intermediate stops, no sights to visit along the way, just the road that unfolds before us, crossing landscapes that seem endless. Yet, even on this day of pure travel, Namibia knows how to enchant. The route is characterized by long stretches of dirt road, where the dusty strip of land disappears into the horizon, cutting through a desert landscape that changes slowly, almost imperceptibly, as the kilometers pass under the wheels. Traveling in Namibia also means this, letting yourself be transported by the vastness, savoring the silence interrupted only by the roar of the engine, and observing how nature, apparently immobile, tells its story to those who have eyes to listen. Right in front of the place where we stopped to eat, there was this sort of characteristic museum with a monument where an inscription was engraved in Afrikaans. Yesterday's courage and perseverance are today's prosperity, in honor of the founders of our farming community. Every time we meet motorcyclists along the way, we can't help but feel a deep admiration for their resistance. Tackling these bumpy roads on two wheels requires not only skill, but also constant concentration and an uncommon tenacity. During our interminable transfer, we made another stop along one of the many straight dirt roads that seem to never end, just enough time for the ritual photo. A moment to stretch our legs, breathe deeply the hot and dusty air of Namibia, and let ourselves be enveloped by the surreal silence that dominates these boundless spaces. We too, on board our vehicle, feel the weight of fatigue accumulating kilometer after kilometer. In the end, the arrival in Luderitz turns into an increasingly pressing desire, a goal that we can't wait to reach to give ourselves a bit of rest and leave behind the dust and tiredness of this long day on the road. After the long transfer from Sesriem, we arrive in Luderiz, a picturesque town on the southwest coast of Namibia with a small port overlooking the Atlantic. We have time for a long, relaxing walk. Founded in 1883 by the German shipowner Adolf Luderitz, it became the first nucleus of the German Protectorate of Southwest Africa. Initially devoted to fishing and port activities, the city experienced its heyday with the discovery of rich diamond deposits in 1908, which attracted thousands of fortune seekers. Today, with the mines exhausted, Luderiz lives thanks to the port, fishing, oyster farming, and tourism. Its charm lies in its clearly German-style architecture, including the Felsenkirche, the evocative church on the rocks, and in its atmosphere suspended between the sea and the desert. The quiet streets, the uncrowded seafront, and the spectacular sunsets over the sea complete the picture of this unique location. A corner of Bavaria nestled between the dunes of the Namibian desert and the rushing waves of the Atlantic. Kolmaskop is a mining town built by the Germans, who occupied Namibia in 1908. We begin the visit of the site from the museum and the period photos. The city was born when, after learning that this area was rich in diamonds, many German miners settled there. At this point, the German government declared this area a restricted zone and began to exploit the diamond fields. Inspired by the enormous wealth accumulated by the early diamond prospectors, the colonial authorities built a city in German architectural style. It was self-contained in every way, equipped with shops and services including a hospital, a dance hall, a power station, a school, a theater, a gymnasium, a bowling alley, a casino, an ice-making plant. It also had the first tram in Africa, and a railway was open to nearby Luderitz. Some rooms are still in a surprising state of preservation. Here, time seems to have stopped. Original furniture in perfect Teutonic style, with elegant and solid lines, evoke the luxury and refinement of an era now vanished. The carefully crafted period furnishings tell the story of the daily life of the former inhabitants, once attracted by the illusion of wealth that the diamond deposits promised. Contrasted with the sand slowly creeping through doors and windows, these spaces convey a fascinating combination of decay and resistance to time, offering visitors an evocative journey into the German colonial history of Southwest Africa. The city was depopulated after the First World War, with the decline of diamond mining activity. Profits here came at a high price. The climate was extreme, with scorching temperatures during the day and freezing temperatures at night, and the city's isolation in the desert made life very difficult. It was finally abandoned in 1954. In Kolmaskop, abandoned houses offer a surreal and photographically fascinating spectacle. The buildings, once symbols of wealth and prosperity, are now evocative settings where nature is slowly regaining control. The sand, incessantly carried by the wind, has passed through open doors and windows, sometimes accumulating up to half the height of the rooms, creating golden dunes that shape the interiors with sinuous and ever-changing forms. This contrast between human architecture and the unstoppable power of nature gives rise to extraordinary images, where lights and shadows dance on dusty surfaces, enhancing the sense of mystery and melancholy that envelopes this ghost town. A place suspended in time, perfect for those looking for unique and evocative scenarios to immortalize. After exploring the evocative ghost town of Kolmaskop, our adventure continued to one of Namibia's most impressive natural wonders, the Fish River Canyon National Park. Ahead of us were 436 kilometers of travel through endless landscapes, where the vastness of the desert seemed endless and the golden light of late afternoon painted the dunes and rocks in increasingly warm hues. Our goal was clear: to arrive before the park closed at 7 p.m., so we could camp near the river and wake up at dawn, ready to enjoy a show that promised to be unforgettable. The journey, although long and challenging, gave us extraordinary views, with infinite horizons and the sky that, little by little, was tinged with the colors of the sunset. When we finally arrived at our destination, while the check-in procedures were taking place, the accumulated tiredness gave way to emotion. Before us opened up one of the most fascinating scenes in Africa. The sun, now low, set the sky alight in a beautiful sunset. It was the perfect prelude to the magic of dawn, a moment when nature would once again give its best. We wake up when it is still night to see the sunrise at the Fish River Canyon, one of the most suggestive landscapes in Namibia. The air is crisp, silence envelopes the landscape, and only the sound of our footsteps breaks the wait for the new day. The truck leaves us at a panoramic point, where a sign tells us about the adventures that can be experienced in this place. Challenging 5-day treks that lead to the river, an experience that would require time and preparation, but that promises to reveal the most authentic soul of this geological wonder. Before us, the canyon stretches out in all its grandeur, its sheer walls carved by time, a testament to the force of nature. The desire to explore it more deeply is strong, but our itinerary requires a tight schedule. Over 300 kilometers of transfer await us. This is the last wonder that Namibia offers us, before the journey takes us to South Africa for the last days of exploration before returning home. As the sun rises, painting the sky with shades of pink and gold, we realize how precious this moment is. Dawn is an ancient ritual, a moment that brings with it the promise of a new beginning. And here, in this wild and remote corner of the world, it seems even more intense. A few steps allow us to admire the canyon from different angles, while the morning light sculpts its contours, enhancing its beauty. It is a breathtaking sight, a final postcard of this extraordinary land that we will always carry in our hearts. Fish River Canyon is a time-sculpted wonder, a geological testament to the extraordinary power of nature. Its origin dates back to an earthquake that created a deep rift valley, allowing the river to undertake its incessant work of erosion. For millions of years, water and weather continued to shape the landscape, carving out ever deeper grooves and creating what is now the second largest canyon in the world. At its bottom, the Fish River flows only seasonally, leaving a dry, sun-cracked riverbed for much of the year, in perfect contrast to the majesty of the rocky walls that tower above it. The trail we took gave us one of the most spectacular views of the entire canyon. Each observation point offers a different perspective on this immense gorge, where the bends of the river, the steep cliffs, and the surprising desert vegetation create a contrast of shapes and colors that enchants the eye. The dawn light made the experience even more intense. The warm, golden tones were reflected on the rocky walls, revealing nuances that seemed to disappear during the day. It is a landscape that invites contemplation, an enveloping silence interrupted only by the blowing of the wind. We remain still, captured by the timeless beauty of this place, with the feeling that no matter how far you travel, there are views you never want to take your eyes off.